Okay, I'm live. So I'm trying this tool, and it's been a couple weeks since I've written a newsletter, and I thought rather than trying to sit down and write one on a busy day, I would just spend a couple minutes trying out this format. So I've titled this uh, "Feeling and Trusting the Current." Um, Probably 15, maybe more years ago, I was on my way to my job at the time. And I had this picture of a leaf on the top of a river, and the current was gently pulling the leaf along. And it was such a vivid picture. Um, I still think about it almost every day. And what it meant to me in that moment was somehow I knew that that leaf was me, and the river was life, and the current was not something that I could control. But it was something that I had been trying to control up until then, my whole life. And so I felt this choice to make between going on as I had been, trying to create current, create direction, choose the pace, and trusting that the current had me, that the current would choose the direction, that the current would choose the speed. And my work as a leaf was to rest. And in that moment, I decided I wanted to do that, even though I didn't really know what that meant or even why I had that picture in the first place. Like, this wasn't like a coming out of some thought process, it just came. Maybe even right now, I'll I'll leave that alone. Well, I was gonna say maybe right now, just even as you hear this, it's coming to you in a similar way, but I don't wanna be pushy about this, so I'll just say that was my experience, and I thought to myself, I wanna be that leaf, and I don't know how or even what that means. And over the following months, I started to feel a lot of unrest. Ironically, uh, I forgot about that picture, and started feeling like something was off in my life. Part of it had to do with the work that I was doing, but I think it was a lot more than that, and I started feeling compelled to spend some time every day, just taking a walk and trying to explore what this unrest was all about. And to make a long story shorter, um, I eventually went to my work and pulled back to part time. And I started changing the way that I was um, approaching my music career. And a lot of things started changing out of these walks that I was taking every day. And the changes were all very scary to me. Like, they caused me to have a lot of sleepless nights. Um, and so this change was accompanied by a lot of fear. And as I look back on it now, I think a lot of fear that I was probably avoiding feeling by staying where I was. And I want to be clear, this isn't just about work. Um, that was sort of the surface of it, but it had more to do with how I was walking through life, and actually had maybe most of all to do with the quality of how I was being in life. On the surface, the river takes the leaf where it wants to take it, at the speed that it wants to take it, and the leaf really doesn't choose. the surface decisions. But in a deeper way, on a being level, the leaf is just at rest. The leaf itself is still, even though the water is moving. And the water may be rushing, or the water may be just barely, gently moving forward. It's probably always moving, but the leaf is not. And so the bigger change I think that was happening is in me was um, I was starting to become still inside. And that was probably the biggest fear inducing change out of all the changes that happened. I started to get still inside because as the leaf on the river, I was no longer in charge of the direction or the pace. I was just there. I was just being. And maybe most scarily of all, I was trusting. I think up to that point, trust wasn't a big part of the equation for someone who was at least imagining that they could decide where the river was going, decide how fast the river was going, choose how everything was going to play out in life. And now I didn't have that control. The truth is, I never had that control. But now I was starting to let myself feel the truth that I was just a leaf on a river and I didn't get to choose where it would go. I don't think that this is separate from agency. I think that people have choices. I think that all through this process, I had a lot of choices to make, but they were within a certain scope, and the scope was much different than the scope that I was picturing before. Before, I was picturing that I was uh, the river boss. I was deciding how life would go, and now I was deciding how I would be as the river went, and I went with it. And over the years, 10, 15 since then, my life has changed in so many ways on the outside. I live in a different place. I'm doing a different thing. So much has happened. Some of you know um, and have been with me through a lot of those happenings. But the biggest change is not what I've been able to post pictures of on Instagram or even put into words on Substack or wherever. The biggest changes that have happened have been inside of me. And I can only feel them, but I can at least a little bit describe the feeling to you now by showing you. So if you're still with me right now and you're listening to this, um, if you want to feel or understand the change that's happened inside me, um, just try this. And you may have done something like this with me before. But see if you can just let yourself be held up by the chair that you're sitting in until all the muscles in your body, this chair is holding us up. And then just get heavier and let yourself be carried. And then notice how that feels. Or look at your breath and decide about your breath. I'm going to stop choosing to breathe and I'm just going to let go of my breathing. And then watch the way that your breath keeps on moving through your body, but different. The breath hasn't changed. but everything around it, your body has changed. The chair hasn't changed, but your body has changed. We may not have the ability to control life, even our own life, but we have the ability to decide how we're going to be. And I'm learning this on a daily basis. I'm still like very much trying to learn this, that I think the best way to be is to trust. The trust that the river knows what it's doing, knows where it's going, knows when to go fast and when to go slow. And to let go of the responsibility, the task to make those decisions, to control those variables, and instead to come back to where, to what you are, to what I am. I'm a leaf on the surface of a river being carried. Thanks. This was nice. Interesting that I can't edit it now. Um, yeah, I guess that's how you end these things.